Hi, I'm Chris Lemaire. I'm a programmer at the American Cinematheque, and I'm thrilled to present this Q&A for Borat's subsequent movie film, which is nominated for 2 Academy Awards this year, including Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Actress in a Supporting Role. We're very excited to have the 2 nominees joining us for this Q&A, including the star Maria Bakalova and the brilliant mind behind Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen. Our conversation is moderated by journalist and host of Inside the Issues, Alex Cohen, who is also a longtime friend of the American Cinematheque. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Alex and welcome the 2 stars.
Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. I really couldn't be more thrilled or honored to have the opportunity to talk about this film with its 2 stars. I'm so thrilled to have with me Sacha Baron Cohen. And also, Maria, I want to make sure, I have heard your name said so many ways, and I want to hear how you say your name so that we can say it correctly. Will you do us the honors?
Yes, please. Maria Bakalova.
Bakalova, Maria Bakalova. Thank you so much for you had it all wrong, Sacha. So Sacha, I'd like to begin with you and going back in time to when the first Borat film was done and dusted and was such a huge success. Did you think at the time that there would ever be the possibility of a sequel?
Not really. I mean, it was fantastic that it was such a hit, and we never imagined it. We thought that a movie about a anti-Semitic Central Asian reporter that was a documentary would be a very, very niche comedy. However, it was amazingly, it was a hit. It's wonderful, but it meant that it would almost definitely be impossible to film Borat again with real people. So I didn't want to do a fully scripted version of the movie with actors playing along, and so I basically abandoned it.
And then something must have changed your mind. What was it?
Well, yes. Well, I think what the first Borat movie uncovered, apart from being a funny movie, was this dark underbelly of American society of racism and anti-Semitism and misogyny, and that under Donald Trump became overt. The racists became out and proud. I became really angry, actually, which a lot of people did, and this movie was really born out of anger. Things like the Muslim ban made me feel that I had to do something. I didn't think it would make a change, but you can only do your art, and if you call it that. And so I was really concerned about if Donald Trump would win again, and I feared there would be a slide into authoritarianism. And so went into the carpet and brought out the gray suit.
So Maria, let's talk about how you wound up involved in all of this. From what I understand, there was a lot of mystery around this project when it first came to you. Take me back to when you first heard of it, what you thought that this might be.
The first time when I heard that there's been an audition for a big role in a big Hollywood movie, I was like, this never happened before. Is it actually real? Because usually people are not giving that big of a platform for somebody from Eastern Europe. There is not a lot of names finishing with Ova at the end. And Sacha did it, and they've been searching for somebody. I never had an agent before. I've never had an agency. And Nancy Bishop, the casting director, knew my manager now because he's still an actor and an advocate for representation for Eastern Europeans in the Western cinema. So he kind of posted it on Facebook, and I saw it through a Facebook status, and I was like, oh no, this is not actually real. But a friend of mine who knew him, she was like, no, he's actually an actor, you have to do it. And I recorded it as a joke because I had 2 hours between going from home to set for another movie that I was shooting in Bulgaria. And I was like, okay, let's record something as improv, let's try, maybe I'm gonna connect to this person who is in England. And then they called me without Sacha, actually. I think it was the director, Jason Woolen, or Anthony Hines, the writer, and Dan Mazer, I believe so, also one of the creators, maybe Nick Hutton, the producer too. And they were like, yeah, it's a real casting. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna take the risk and I'm gonna travel to England. And then I went there, I met Nancy, and then I went to the house when we were doing the audition, and I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be an audition in a house. They did not let Julian, my manager, to get inside, probably because the project was extremely confidential. I was like, oh my God, that's the end of my life. Probably I'm gonna end up kidnapped. Probably I will never see my parents again, but I saw London, and that's important. But I went there and I saw Sacha, and because that was the year when both of Who is America and The Spy were released, I knew who he was, and I was like, oh, he is a great actor. He is real. It's actually happening. And all of this magic started there in 2019 in London.
And it's all panned out very well. We should note that Maria has won the Critics' Choice Association Award for Best Supporting Actress, has been nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Academy Awards. This film just won the Writers Guild Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. Sacha Baron Cohen, I can only imagine how different of an audition this must be, given the nature of the work that you do. What were you looking for? How did you know that Maria was it?
So this audition was with real people who didn't know they were meeting actors. And so, yeah, think about it. Maria flew over from Bulgaria. Suddenly she's dressed up in a costume. We tell her character. She meets me for the first time. And an hour later, we're in a room for 2 hours with a real couple. And she's pretending to be my daughter. And so I'm trying to see whether she can survive in that environment and whether they believe her or not, because we auditioned we looked at hundreds and hundreds of tapes, and we had actually done auditions with tens of actresses. Some were very experienced, some were brilliant, some were great comics, but when we put them in front of real people, often within a minute, the real person would say, hold on, that's a joke, you're an actor. And everything would be done. So it's a very difficult process. She had about 3 or 4 auditions, and quickly we realized she's hilarious. She's got brilliant improvisational skills. So when we were saying goodbye from that couple and we were leaving the house, she was pretending that she'd never been upstairs in a house before. I looked at the audition, one of the shots, and she gave the guy a kiss on the cheek out of nowhere. It was so bizarre, really made me laugh. And then she fell down the stairs on her arse, and it was like a really funny comic bit, but completely real. Then we did this audition where it was just me and her. I wanted to see what she was like on the emotional stuff, because for the movie to work, we had to really care about this relationship between Borat and his daughter. And so we needed a great actor to be able to pull that off and make the invest in the story. And she does this breakup scene where she's saying, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. The book that you gave me is a lie. The real book is Facebook. And at one point I felt myself about to cry. And obviously not wanting to cry in front of anyone I knew, I said, all right, that's it. And we gave her the part. But she's a revelation. She's hilarious. She's courageous. She's filming scenes with real people and sometimes in terrifying situations. And she's an incredible actor. So there's nobody else we could have made this movie with. It actually... we decided not to even have a production start date until we found our tutor, Borat's daughter. Wow. So thankfully we did.
Well, from everything that Sacha's saying, Maria, it sounds like you came to the table with a lot of it already in you, things that I imagine couldn't even be taught, but that you either innately have or you don't. But I would imagine once you started filming, because Sacha had done this before in many scenarios, including the first Borat film, did he give you any advice that you found particularly helpful, especially when it came to, there were situations you both were putting yourself in danger. Did he give you any kind of practical tips on how to handle all of it? Because this is more than just acting or improvising.
First of all, I have to say that I will forever be grateful to Sacha for everything. Up until the last day of my life on this earth, Sacha, you will be my hero forever. You will be my teacher, my mentor, the person that I want to be like forever in any kind of way, as a human being, as an artist, as a hero in the world. So I'm forever grateful, and I truly love you and thank you. Sacha supported me from the very beginning, really, like unwavering, which I couldn't believe it's happening, because he's a genius and he is extremely established as an actor. Plus, Borat is probably the most amazing comedic performance ever existed in the world, and people love it. Borat has its own audience, so I was really scared when I've watched Borat, because the bar was high. It was the highest thing that I've seen, and especially in thinking about decide that you're with real people, you have only one take that you're gonna do it, and he know how to do it. He's been doing it since the year when I've been born, in 1996 or 2000, when the Ali G show started. And I was like, how I'm gonna do it? Am I gonna ruin the movie? Why he's believing me so much? But probably because of the belief, probably because of the trust that he invested in me, and all of the lessons. Because you might not even realize, but every single time when I've been working with you in any scene, there's been a new lesson. There's been a new lesson. Just looking at you and listening to all of the things that you're saying, the facial expressions, the way that Borat is thinking, the way that Sacha is thinking, the way that you live with a character, that has been one of the best advices, and that has taught me how to dig inside a character and start believe that this is a real person. And I believe that we had a conversation in the beginning when Sacha told me, think about what if you were this girl, if you were living in a cage, if you was in this place that she's from, where all your functions are just to please somebody else, you're not worth anything else, how you would feel. And think about that there are some places in the world where maybe not in this capacity, but there are still issues where women are subjugated by the patriarchy, women are underrated, and women are not treated the way they should. They're not equals, which is wrong. So that was probably one of the things that I tried to learn, how to believe that the character is real, that truth exists. Probably a little bit hyperbolized, probably a little bit crazier, more naive than me, but still with the message of that's not right. And also, I'm extremely nervous as a person. Sacha knows it. Before every single scene, I was shaking and crying. And I remember that the women for the Conservative Women's Center, I was freaking out, because originally I think we were supposed to be together, and then something happened and I was there alone, and they were fixing my makeup. I'm crying again.
What happened was one of the women was in the original Borat movie, coincidentally. Incredible coincidence.
You could be there. That's fascinating.
So she was in the original Borat. We recognize that. It's unbelievable.
So from 2 pages of dialogue, it became one big monologue that I was supposed to learn for like an hour or something. And everybody was like, don't worry. I remember that somebody from the PAs or somebody, my makeup artist, somebody was like, don't worry, Sacha is not here. He won't see it, even if you ruin something. I was like, no, I wish he was here. And then they called him, and Sacha jumped on a FaceTime, and he called me down, and he was like, use that. Tute is also nervous. She's discovering new things, so she's kind of like you. Use that. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that we're nervous when we're passionate about something, and if we're passionate about something, means that we care about something. So this is something else that I try to learn from Sacha.
Maria just mentioned the 2 pages of dialogue. Sacha Baron Cohen in these films, where clearly real life and improvisation play a key role. Talk to me about where the writing fits in.
Well, there is a huge amount of writing, more writing than any other movie. I have written fully scripted movies, and this writing process continually evolves. So we start with the same process as a traditional movie. We write, well, in this case, particularly because we needed for the movie to be effective, we needed this relationship to be emotional, the father-daughter story. So this needed to be as powerful as Fiddler on the Roof, or any of these movies where you have a patriarchal situation where the father essentially gives up and becomes a feminist, you know, or falls in love with the person they're meant to give away. You know, we were influenced by Paper Moon, The Wedding Banquet. We also, there are even movies that we studied closely, like Brokeback Mountain, because Borat is a kind of closet father. He doesn't want to admit it, but deep down, he has these latent paternalistic tendencies. So, you know, I really wanted to look at Brokeback to see what those scenes are and how the central character struggles with these feelings that he's ashamed of. He's ashamed that he actually loves his daughter. So we wrote a screenplay because we wanted this to really work as a 90-minute powerful movie that was really funny. We brought in every writer and director we knew in Hollywood, and we decided to write what we hoped the real people would say as well. We had a read through and it went great. People were in hysterical laughter. They loved it. And the first question was, who are you going to cast as Rudy Giuliani? And I said, well, Rudy Giuliani. And so the answer was, well, listen, you're crazy. You can never do this in the real world. Thanks for an hour and a half. It's really entertaining, but we're off. But then you are continually rewriting until really sometimes 10 minutes before you go on set. As Maria said then, suddenly there's a woman who's in a scene who will recognize me. We have to completely rewrite the scene. So it is we're writing in the morning, during the day, and at night as well, while keeping this 90-page script alive. It's morphing. Obviously, there's a huge amount of improvisation. There's one scene I did that was 5 days long, you know, so I'm in character for, you know, about 70 hours, but I know that there is 5 pages, 5 minutes that we need in the movie, and exactly what those 5 minutes are. Obviously, new things turn up, but I know the script and the emotional development and the lines that I need to hit. So there is continual rewriting. This is, you know, the ultimate script is actually thousands of pages long, because each scene that is in the script is a page long, is a 10-page document, and we have to memorize that. And then the challenge also for the actor, what Maria is brilliant at, is how do you deliver jokes but make them blend into everything else you say so they do not appear as jokes. And the way to do that is to have completely consistent character. So yes, there was a huge amount of writing. And then when it came to COVID, we shut down and then we completely rewrote the script once again.
Well, put a pin in that, because I definitely want to ask about COVID. But Maria, I want to ask you, just dovetailing on what Sacha was saying, because I really wondered about this a lot as a performer. And I know that you're kind of a method actor. You know, usually in a film, if there was a scene where you were going from being kind of a stinky, dirty brunette to this glamorous blonde, you might shoot, you know, 5 minutes of it, and then in makeup, they do the hair, and that's it. You lived through these experiences, so many of them. And I wondered that, given the very unique nature of how you make this film, how that influenced your performance. I would imagine that gives you so much lived experience to draw from.
Yeah, I mean, we started everything, and I knew from the beginning that, first of all, I don't know, is Sacha actually aware of that? But in the beginning, from the very first audition, Tuta was supposed to be strong. And I was really skinny because I was shooting a movie where my character was kind of sick. So I started training and I started gaining weight. That was in the beginning. And then I knew that Tuta was supposed to be not actually taking showers or shaving her body hairs. I completely support some of my friends embracing their body hairs. I wasn't one of these people, but I was like, okay, go for it. You were gonna use it. And it was boiling hot, and we were in LA traveling here and there, and I was keep wearing long socks up until here, just because I was, okay, how I'm gonna get to the pool. And then a lot of things happened, but I did live through the different stages of her life. And I think I try to believe that it's actually happening to me, because it was kind of a meta thing also. We worked with the amazing Katie Frey artist, who made that even more believable on screen. And we were stinky. We were really stinky. We were sprayed with some horrible smells. I was sprayed with something that smelled like when you're going to the toilet, or Sacha was with some like a fish or cheese smell. This is crazy. And when you go closer to somebody real, when they smell you, they believe that you're real. It's
I
because
think you had an old fish in your pocket for some of the things, yeah.
yes, I had an old fish. I had an old fish. I had different things in me in different scenes. So it's been interesting, and I'm happy because Tuta is a multi-layered character. She's going through a lot of things, physically and mentally, and they're going together. And for me, also went in my life, because at the beginning I was like, this is not happening, is actually real. Then I get involved with the production. I was like, oh my god, is this actually happening, and then I started believing that it's happening, and I was like, oh my god, work more. So it's been a crazy journey, and we all felt it. And I was looking at Sasha, and I saw how he's staying character. He was trying to walk with like the character, and he was speaking like Borat most of the time, even when he was like Sacha, even in the rehearsals. And I was like, oh my god, that's genius. This is actually the method acting. So it's been my biggest training in life, no matter the fact that I've been studying for acting for 10-12 years. He's my biggest teacher, really.
So Sacha, let's come back to COVID-19. You're already dealing with this three-dimensional chess set of making this film. How far along were you when the pandemic really started to become a serious threat, and how did that impact this film?
So we were shooting in 2019. I broke for a couple of months, 3 months, to go off to New York and shoot Chicago 7, because I felt I had to play that role. And I remember saying to the producers, don't worry, it's going to be fine. We're going to still hit the release date. We're going to make this movie prior to the election. We were only making this movie so it could be released prior to the election. And there was no purpose in it afterwards. And, the other producers were concerned. I said, trust me, it's going to be fine. Then obviously I had no idea that the pandemic would hit. We come back, we're shooting, and it's difficult. The first day we're shooting in Richmond, Virginia at a gun rally, and it's dangerous. There was a group that had come to carry out a mass shooting that had been arrested by the FBI the day beforehand, and it was a scary way to start the movie. I was wearing a bulletproof vest. I told the crew, you do not have to come tomorrow. A lot of them didn't turn up, but actually almost all of them did. We had the most courageous crew. And we start shooting, we get real momentum, and it's going great. We shoot CPAC. It goes fantastically. And then, although actually Maria became ill, she collapsed in the corridor. We had to take her to hospital. We didn't know what the illness was. And I got a very bad flu. We come back to LA just for a tiny break for 4 days. And then coronavirus essentially hits. We have to shut down. And I decided to keep the edit going. And we had 3 editors. I knew that once coronavirus was over and we could start shooting again, that we would have to be almost completely ready. So that part of the movie would have to be almost completely edited, so we could just finish it and slot it in and release it prior to the election. one of the editors one day, after about 2 weeks after the lockdown, shows me on Zoom this clip from CPAC. He goes, Sacha, I think you and Jason, our brilliant directors, should see this. And it was Vice President Pence saying, currently there are 15 cases of coronavirus in America. As the president said this morning, whatever it is, we've got this under control. And it was suddenly an epiphany, which was, here was evidence of the complete mismanagement of the Trump government when it came to COVID, and their willful negligence that had led to the unnecessary death of hundreds of thousands of Americans. And at that point, I realized that we had to get out and shoot again. That if this was a movie that was, there's a father-daughter story, it was a satire, but if we were cataloging Trump's crimes, then the biggest crime was this unnecessary mass murder brought about through the spreading of conspiracies, some of them racist, and the effects that we've seen of that as well. So I decided we're going to go out. We're going to work out a way to shoot again. Obviously, we're in lockdown. No one can leave their houses. I started working with Johns Hopkins, and then I also started to rewrite the script with the other writers. And we rewrote the second half of the movie, essentially, and said, you know, the second half of the movie is going to be with the backdrop of coronavirus. We're not going to pretend this is going on. We're not going to wait till coronavirus ends, because even though at that time there was, if you cast your mind back to March, a lot of people were saying, oh, this will be a month. It'll be like a tornado. It'll be fine. And the studio at the time, Universal, was saying, listen, this movie is going to be great in a year's time, in 2 years' time. Let's just wait till it's done. Forget about the release date before the election. I couldn't. That was the raison d'etre. That's why we were risking our lives. And so we rewrote the movie to still hit all the same emotional beats, but, you know, your central character has to face challenges. And one of these challenges was he'd lost his daughter. If he didn't find her, he'd be killed in Kazakhstan. And now he can't even move. He's in lockdown. You know, coronavirus is an increasing, escalating challenge for BORAT. And so we rewrote all the scenes using the same story beats. We knew that he would have to see Tutar again, and she would have to go off and see Giuliani. And instead of that, we decided to do that at this gun rally. You know, we had a completely different place for her, and we changed who Tutar became. Before, in the earlier version of the script, she became radical left. In this version, we made her a hard right journalist who was spreading conspiracy theories. And so the same emotional beats, but set in this new world of COVID and COVID deniers. And we felt this was just a great opportunity to be in the world of these hyper militant pro-Trump conspiracy theorists. And therefore I was in the lockdown house, therefore I was in this gun rally where they were spreading these absurd conspiracy theories.
And please correct me if I'm wrong here, this bizarre turn of events that no one could have anticipated, also going back to when everyone was asking, well, how are you going to get Rudy Giuliani? Coronavirus actually helped on that front. If, as I understand correctly, you were able to posit that you were doing a documentary on how brilliantly President Trump had handled the pandemic. And that's how Maria was able to get in the door with them. I think everyone is well familiar with all of the different takes on what exactly happened in that hotel room. Maria, if you don't mind my asking, from your perspective, can you share what you think was happening between you and Rudy Giuliani, and if you were okay with that?
Yes, I am okay. Probably I'm gonna keep repeating myself, but the movie is out, and everybody can make their own decisions what to believe and what to not. I did felt nervous, and I did felt worried what is going to happen, because I was alone in this room. And first, as an actor, I needed to be extremely convincing that it's going to work out, because we had already an amazing moments in the movie. We had Janice Jones, we had Judy, the Holocaust survivor, we had people that show that they're really beautiful human beings. So who knows, he could have reacted in a different way. People are unpredictable. But of course, I did not feel really comfortable by having him touching my waist, or asking for my phone number and my address, and laying on the bed, taking off his microphone. I haven't seen what he's doing with my eyes there in the room, because as we can see in the movie, I was with my back at this moment. So I've seen it as you've seen it in the movie. I was kind of worried, but I wasn't at the same time, because Sacha was in the rooms. He was in the closet, and he just came right in time. I don't want to think what it might could have happened. I think it's in all of our heads what could have happened. With all of the other things in the movie, like laughing in this way, or pouring glasses of whiskey and celebrating an interview. And it's not been the most comfortable situation, for sure. But I was thinking more about the human situation, because if I was a male journalist, would have he been reacting the same way? And we're getting back to the point why we needed that movie, because female, male are equals, and I should not be treated differently as a sexual object because I'm a woman. I don't believe that he might could have tapping the waist of a man, or laughing this way, blushing in the middle of an interview, or laying on the bed tucking his shirt, and things like that.
Thank you for that, Maria. And I'm really actually struck by your openness to, who knows who Rudy Giuliani might have been when I showed up, your open-mindedness to that. And Sacha, on that front, you mentioned the part of the film, and I think that you're talking about the point where you went and in the midst of this pandemic, shacked up with these two QAnon supporters, and it looks at least like you were there. You were staying there for quite some time. Is that the period of time, that long block that you were talking about?
Yes.
And so what was that like? Just take me to the inside of your head at night when you're laying down thinking, like, I'm here and I can't blow my cover. I can't even imagine.
That was terrifying, because it's the longest time I've stayed in character, which is 5 days consistently in character. And obviously you're not just in character, but you're with suspicious people for 5 days, and they're questioning you about your country, your family, everything about you for 5 days. And you've still got to not just survive, you have to get the story out, you have to get the comic bits out. There are a lot of comic ideas that we tried that, we always want to try more comic bits than actually make it in the movie. So it was terrifying. It was the hardest acting job I've ever had to do in my life. Because you're getting drunk with these guys, you're dancing with them, you're having breakfast. And it was terrifying. I actually had a panic attack on the first morning, because I just didn't know how I was going to be able to do it. And I knew also that I'd be going straight from this lockdown house into this gun rally where I'd be singing this satirical song called the Wuhan Flu. And so I'd have to rewrite that. We were using lines that Jim and Jerry, these two conspiracy theorists, had written, and incorporating that into the song. So I was rewriting the song. Occasionally, some of the writers would climb in through the window in the middle of the night. I'd rewrite the song, rewrite certain bits of script, and then they'd climb out through the window. So we had ladders, there was a secret network to get into my room. But yes, it was definitely the biggest acting challenge of my life. And then obviously you're going from there to, when I left there, I had a half-hour rehearsal with the band who was going to be singing the song with me. Worked that out, and then, you know, putting on a bulletproof vest and going to this rally where there's a lot of semi-automatic guns, and I'm antagonizing the crowd. And I knew that it was potentially going to be very dangerous, and it did actually end up being rather dangerous. So that was a terrifying scene when you're, you know, any actor in any movie, you sometimes have that scene where you go, oh my God, you know, when I did Chicago 7, it's the trial scene. I'm in the dock. I'm Abby Hoffman. I'm terrified about doing this. This scene I knew was a 6-day scene where I'm going to have to live in lockdown with these people and then go with them to a gun rally where I'm going to have to sing a song convincingly and get out of there alive. And obviously, Maria's going to be there and realize that her dad is going to die if she doesn't go and give herself to Giuliani. So yeah, it was a challenge. It was a challenge. But
you are very thankfully safe and sound now, but you are not exaggerating when you talk about the dangers of that day. Things took a turn, and basically, as I understand it, you wound up fleeing in a van, and were it not for the physics and your leg strength, I mean, who knows where you would have been today. Sacha Baron Cohen, do you ever go to that place in your mind where you think, okay, my obituary could be he died making this sort of art? And did you ever have a moment where you just really asked yourself, am I okay with that being the way I leave this planet?
You try not to have that actual conversation with yourself, but I remember putting on the bulletproof vest in the bathroom that day, and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're putting on a bulletproof vest and you do think, are you mad? Because what are you doing? This is a movie. And then I just come back to the sacrifices that everyone made. Maria, the crew, the cameramen, you know, the director, the producers. People were putting themselves in real risk of arrest and real risk of serious violence. You know, I'm not just talking violence, I'm talking violence when there's a mob. And that's when horrific stuff can happen. And yeah, that day was, you know, somebody went and reached for his gun. I was lucky enough to have had a bodyguard who grabbed hold of the guy's hand and stopped the gun from being raised. Would he have shot it? I don't know. But yes, we were surrounded in our getaway vehicle by an angry mob. They were trying to pull me from the getaway vehicle, and they had a policeman who was on their side, preventing the vehicle from moving. And it was scary. Yeah. And luckily I was strong enough. Well, just through the laws of physics, I was lying on the floor of this vehicle. And when the mob pulled open the door, I was able to use my leg strength to pull backwards and lock it closed. But it was, you know, and after that scene, angry people from the crowd came looking for me, and word got out that I was nearby, and they would try and find me. So I was moving accommodation every day to, you know, when I was busted. So as I said, you know, I go back to the original reason. Why do you make a movie like this? Why does Maria go through these sacrifices? Why? I was terrified about what would happen if Trump won again. And I was terrified that these conspiracies would lead to violence. That was part of the reason we sang that song, which is it's showing that these Trump supporters would be okay with authoritarianism and violence, with injecting people with coronavirus, with chopping up journalists like the Saudis do, with gassing up people. So that's, yeah, it was that fear and that decision not to be a bystander. And that was the decision of the entire crew, that we would be able to, on November the 4th, after the election, tell our families that we did something, whether we succeeded or not. And it's a movie. We never thought we were going to change the world, but what can you do as a cameraman? What can you do as a makeup artist? What can you do as an actor? Do what you're trained to do.
I could talk about this movie with the two of you for days on end. Unfortunately, we just have a few minutes left, but I would like to know.
I want to say just one thing. I was looking at some of the behind the scenes the other day, and there's a shot of me just before Maria goes in the room. And I look at the camera and I say, if she does this scene, she's going to get nominated for an Oscar. Because the bravery she exhibited, just think, she's just come out of drama school and she's in the most challenging role that any actor can do, staying in character for many, many hours, putting herself in dangerous situations, having to learn vast monologues minutes before going on camera, having to completely know your backstory, and having to put in an incredibly emotional and hilarious performance. I think I can't think of another example in the history of modern cinema that rivals her performance, actually.
Yours is too shabby either. I do want to leave because I noticed the irony here. This is such a great American film. I am the only US citizen participating in this chat, and clearly so much has happened in this country in the weeks and months since this film came out. The election, Trump's disbelief of the election, the insurrection on the US Capitol, a recent spate of hate incidents, I think in no small part launched by terms like Wuhan flu. If you could both maybe, and Maria, let's start with you, leave us with the impression that making this film left you with. How do you see the United States today?
I see that there are a lot of good things to look at it, and a lot of still issues that we need to work on. I'm not American, so probably I don't feel that comfortable to say that we need to change this, we need to change that in America specifically. I think most of the issues are global. And it's about equality. It's about that we should not, our differences should not separate us from each other. We should get reunited just because we're different, just because the more diversity things are happening, the more beautiful the painting is going to be. And there should not be a difference in the treatment with each other, depending on what is your gender, what is your religion, what is your ethnic background, what is your sexuality, what is your ethnicity, what is your, I don't know. It should be just how we treat each other and how we should support each other and love each other, really.
Sacha?
I think what Maria said is beautiful. I mean, it's a movie really about equality, and our anger was that this was a presidency that pushed inequality. And that's why the movie was about equality for women and equality for different ethnicities. And it was about the danger of where we were headed. Fortunately, Trump lost. That was the start. Unfortunately, Trump received 74 million votes. That's 10 million more votes than he received in 2016. And he's still spreading lies about the election. And so we'll be fighting Trumpism, hate, lies, and conspiracies for years. But yes, the movie also shows the incredible love exhibited by so many Americans, and the complexity of Americans, where in a very divided America, it's very easy to dismiss or hate those who are politically different from us. But what we try to show, even people who like Jim and Jerry in the lockdown house, they may hold despicable views. They may believe that Hillary Clinton drinks the blood of children, but they're also good people, and they're also let in a stranger, and they want Borat to be a feminist. So, America is not black and white. It is, in the words of Judith, the Holocaust survivor, we asked her afterwards, said, what's the most important thing? She actually said to Borat, she goes, we have to sit and listen to each other. And when we do that, and I feel like the movie was able to do that a little bit, to let us listen to each other, to other real Americans. And my job and Maria's job is to allow those people to speak. I think we find out a lot.
It has been such a pleasure and honor sitting here and listening with you both. Sacha and Maria, thank you both so much for your time and for your work on this film. And my thanks to the American Cinematheque for giving me this opportunity to chat. Thanks all.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Maria, for making this a great movie. Thank you.
Thank you for making this movie, Sacha, and everything that you're doing. I love it and you.
Okay, great.